Gen AI costs are reducing for better performance. So a simple example is ChatGPT 4 versus ChatGPT 4.0, right? So 4.0 is twice as
Right.
fast and half the price,
Half as the
right?
cost.
And much better speed, right? So they are also looking to optimize and try to give out Gen AI capabilities at a lower cost.
There is an article I would like to share. This article, maybe if I can share my screen.
Yeah.
So in fact, there are two articles that I would like to share. So one is, it talks about enterprises hesitate on Gen AI adoption amid pricing model shifts and high costs, because there's a proper pricing guideline, right, saying that okay, this is your usage, then this is going to be the cost. So there's a lot of unpredictability for a lot of
Right.
businesses. Let's say, what should I budget for my AI thing, right? I mean, yes, we want to do AI, and there's a pay-as-you-go model. So sometimes you see that use case, but if it scales, what could be my budgets? How should I put a boundary? So I think these are some of the areas where I think the companies are looking at, where how enterprises can, they're hesitant to look at
I
the
think,
Gen AI adoption.
putting it in a nutshell, if it can save time, right, it can generate more revenue, like for example, better recommendations or nudging the user to, do something more that could end up in a revenue generating action, right? And if it could basically preserve your image, right? So if these three things your use case with Gen AI does, then I think the pricing should sort of manage itself. And considering you are also looking to scale, right? So if these three things, along with that growth pattern or growth outlook is there, I think it is worth the cost. One more thing, that when it comes to cost, right? So cost will change in the future, right? And you identifying a use case, then it may be too late. Not too late as it would take a lot of time to implement. Too late as in you may lose a competitive edge in your industry, right? So there is a school of thought that says, okay, fine, you may be bleeding money now. So Gen AI costs are reducing for better performance. So a simple example is ChatGPT 4 versus ChatGPT 4.0, right? So 4.0 is twice as
Right.
fast and half the price,
Half as the
right?
cost.
And much better speed, right? So they are also looking to optimize and try to give out Gen AI capabilities at a lower cost, right? Current costs are of course high, everybody knows that, but it's high because of the getting GPUs and all of these processors to actually train the data. Those are really expensive. Like one piece is like 40,000-50,000 US dollars, right? But like we've seen in the past, right, like 20-30 years ago, when you had your pen drive or Walkman or whatever you're listening music on, it was like in MBs, right? 1 GB itself was a big thing. Right now everything is in TBs or late GB.
I remembered one more analogy which I saw in LinkedIn, which says, when people are digging gold, you should sell shovels.
Yes. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So Nvidia is making more money by selling GPUs than actually doing something on the Gen AI part, right? I mean,
Yeah, because that's what everyone needs today, right? To make things cheaper. Like, I'm sure what they're looking at today is to make sure the compute becomes cheaper. And once the compute becomes cheaper, because I don't think the bottleneck today is data availability, considering that it's the amount of data generated every second nowadays is still a lot. The real bottleneck is compute and the cost of compute, and without doubt in few years we will see that drop down a lot. If it's already halved in few months, I'm thinking it would go half again by next year if you continue that pattern, right? And along
makes
with
it more affordable for all small businesses to try that out.
along with it becoming half,
go with the pay-as-you-go model.
along with it becoming half, it's able to do more also, right? So it's not just half,
Right.
With half you can do a lot more also. So so people will hesitate today, but in my opinion it could be an investment for the future, because somebody who gets their use case right the first time and is already using it, they will anyways only benefit in the future because it is going to become cheaper, right? That's one. Somebody who doesn't use it and later on, see, it's not just Gen AI that's going to become cheaper. There's going to be a lot more, like when you do it later, you will be in more need of it. So you will be willing to put,
Right.
more on the line, more at stake to do it. So this is one of those things that it's better to start early, right? You can get the compounding effect of the growth. It's like
Right. So
what
it's
these
not
finance
like
influencers
you wait
say
and watch
about
things. You don't wait and watch for things, but see around, put a small budget, try out what is
Yeah.
there and how we can improvise the process
Yeah.
using AI,
Yeah.
and reap its benefit over a period of time.
Yeah, companies always have budget for exploring something to change innovation budget is always there, right? So I think this is like almost a no-brainer that it should be Gen AI, right, today.
I have one more article which is completely contrary to the previous one, which is a month old, and then it says how Gen AI is FOMO is driving tech heavyweights to invest billions of dollars in startups. So I think we started our article talking about how boardrooms and how CEOs are pressurized to what are you doing on AI, what is our strategy of how do we leverage Gen AI, and this article really points to that point, right? How companies are looking at investing.
This goes back to that whole analogy of startups being lightweight and being able to adapt quickly, right? And move and switch directions fast, whereas bigger heavyweights, of course, they have a whole process, they need to set up a team and all of that, right? This happens often every time there's like a technological cliff or edge that we cross, right? Startups will move much faster because of, smaller teams move faster, but bigger teams, of course, have a lot more at stake, right? So they need to watch their steps a bit more, I would say, because bigger companies, they're listed companies, there are a lot more public shareholders, there's it's a different, it's not just about one team or one function wanting to do something. And startups, I would say, why they want to invest in startups today is to again reap the benefits in the future, because with Gen AI there are more sections of today's world that you can actually sort of add tech to. Like you can technologically transform different part of people's lives, right? And startups can do that, really hyper focused, pinpoint a certain problem and solve it, right? Versus like a big giant like Google or Microsoft, right? They have too many things on their plate. Of course, they have big teams managing it, but startups are more like pinpoint precision that can improve fast, right?
And focused solutions can be
It's very hard for bigger companies to develop focused solutions. That's why I think they really want to invest in the right start of the right time instead of buying them 10 years later at 10x valuation, right?